Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Media Buying Podcast. I'm here with Rob. How you doing, my friend?
Good as always, buddy. How you doing?
Good. I'm like hating the fact that we're getting into winter now. It's like here in the UK, we put our clocks back. There's this always quirky period of time when we're an hour different. So in some respects, we're closer, but it does throw all meetings that I have out the window, because I think some of the platforms I work with, they're okay and they work out that there's an hour's difference. So I think the clocks go back in the States on the 2nd of November.
Oh, yeah.
Ours went back last weekend. So we're closer now than we've ever been in that respect. But it makes a complete mess of when you're trying to do things and organize events.
You know what's actually funny about that is, you remember I used to live in Arizona, and in Arizona, they don't do daylight savings time. So they don't actually shift the time. So when it happens to everyone else, your entire schedule on your calendar just goes forward or back an hour. So you're like, oh, so now I'm going to wake up an hour later, but it's an actual hour later. But then no one else is following it. So everyone else is still waking up at the same time doing this. It's so weird when that happens once or twice.
And the stupid thing is, again, I don't know the reason that the clocks changed in the States, but here in the UK, it was because back in the 1800s or something, farmers could have more daylight to tend their crops. And you're thinking, like, nowadays, they've got industrial lighting, solar powered lighting. They've got massive machines that can do a field in about 10 minutes. There's just really no need for it to change, but they do, and it is what it is. But we're now at the point now, 5 o'clock in the evening, pitch black outside, and people start getting really sad. But again, I'm not going to get really sad, because for me, I'm like really, really excited that I've managed to secure a ticket to go to Affiliate Summit in Vegas, 12th to the 14th of January. I will be there. I'm going to be adopting my usual spot in the Chandelier bar in the Cosmopolitan Hotel. So if you're going to be at the Affiliate Summit, come and see me in my office. Be great to see you. Will you be there, Rob?
I should be, yes. And by that I'm there, obviously, I also mean the Chandelier bar. So yes, I will meet you there.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got loads of friends that from time to time will go, Jim, I'm in the Cosmo and I've been in the Chandelier bar and I couldn't see there. And I'm like, you do know I live in the UK. I don't actually live in the Chandelier bar, even though a lot of people think that I do. I always think I've wasted an opportunity. I think in the Cosmopolitan Hotel, they have like a program, like a loyalty program. And every single time I run up a bill, I've never ever gone, well, here's my loyalty card. I don't even have a loyalty card for the Cosmo. And I'm thinking, what a missed opportunity. I must have spent thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars in there over the years on various drinks.
But you did also hold the title on Foursquare as the governor for how long? Like, it was years.
I was the mayor. I was the mayor for quite a while.
Sorry.
But there's a guy that is the mayor now, and I'm sure he either calls in remotely or he works there. He's probably cleaning up or something like that, because he's checked in something like 23 times in the last 30 days, and I'm like, there's just no way anyone would be alive if they spent 23 days in one place, particularly in Vegas. Imagine if you had. I did an 11-day stint once. I had 2 conferences with a weekend in between the 2, and I stayed in Vegas for 11 days. And it was probably the worst experience I've ever had in my life, because...
Yeah, it goes a bit. And don't get me wrong, I lived there for a year, but it's when you can't escape because you have signed a lease, it hits differently. But yeah, it's... The weather is definitely something that you need to get used to, but also it ain't just the weather when it comes to Vegas. It's like everything. It's the whole, it's the Vegas experience. Yeah. It's the best term for it, really.
And the stupid thing is, again, when I was in Vegas, I was in the same hotel. I think I stayed in Planet Hollywood for 11 days straight, but I had a suitcase full of dirty washing. And at the weekend, I thought, well, I got nothing to do. There's nobody else in town. I know there's a few people that live there, but there was nobody else in town. I was there like off the grid. So I thought, I don't want to do. I'll just go and I put all my dirty laundry into a suitcase, and I went to one of the laundrettes that they have off the sort of strip. And I'm thinking, oh, this place is, I'm sure I've seen this particular laundrette in an episode of CSI Vegas where somebody got shot in the car park. And I just thought, again, I would never, ever expect like a normal, sane person to do it. But somebody like me, I'm quite happy to go in there and just watch my undies going around and spinning. And I took my laptop and I'm thinking, well, that's another stupid thing. Why would you take a an expensive laptop to a laundrette to do work. I should have just gone in there, taken all my jewelry off, watches, everything.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
go in there.
just leave it there. Just run out for a quick errand. Just come back. It'll be nice and clean and definitely in the same spot you left it. Oh, Lord. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I had notification yesterday that the Q3 results for Meta and also for Google came out. They've both done incredibly well in the most recent kind of update. Did you have a chance to look at those at all?
I haven't. It's still on my reading list, but I am more than happy for you to tell me.
Yeah, I threw it all into Claude and it basically said, give me the kind of TLDR of what happened. According to this, it says search results, Meta's most recent filing was filed yesterday. Total revenue reached $51.24 billion, representing a 26% increase compared to Q3 2024, driven primarily by increased advertising revenue. No surprises there. They said income from operation was $20.5 billion, up 18% compared to the third quarter. This was the real kicker for me. Net income came to $2.71 billion, though this was significantly impacted by a one-time income tax charge of $15.93 billion related to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Ooh.
I'm like, holy crap, that's a ton of money.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that link whenever we're done here.
And I'm
Because
thinking
that's
to myself,
interesting.
is that like a hallucination? And that seems to me to be a bit
Well, hold on.
a bit
Let
dramatic,
me
right?
while you keep reading, I'll just go ask another place to see how they hallucinate it, and then we'll compare.
But it does say diluted EPS, earnings per share, was $1.05, reflecting the impact of this one-time tax charge. And then it basically said they got a ton of cash in the bank, $77.8 billion in cash equivalents, and marketable securities as of December the 31st, 2024. So they got lots of money, plenty of money to go out and acquire businesses and everything else. They're executing well on its core advertising business while maintaining a strong balance sheet to fund its investments in AI, reality labs, and emerging technologies. So I think it's safe to say that Meta did well. They had a good Q3 compared to the previous year. And again, I'm always a bit confused because I've talked to a lot of my friends who run media buying agencies that kind of specialize in Facebook, and they're really struggling, right? So
Yep.
I'm thinking, well, Meta doesn't seem to be struggling. They seem to be doing okay. So there must be somebody coming along to kind of spend money. I don't know who.
So,
but,
so I just took a look at it. So according to Perplexity, so we'll see which one is hallucinating more. But the detail says the Big Beautiful Bill was because the law that was passed in July set a new corporate alternative minimum tax that forced Meta to record a valuation allowance against their federal deferred tax assets. So basically they weren't allowed, from what I can understand from that, and granted, like this is a quick read of a summary, but it sounds to me like they were allowed to stretch out a deferral on something, and the bill changed that they couldn't do it anymore. So then it was now due. That would be my guess, but it says it caused a temporary spike in the effective tax rate to 87%. I'm going to need a fact check on that one, but that's interesting. Like that's nutty. Also, I need to look into how much of that went to their AI side, because that's been another interesting thing about, not to tangent off to the side, but like this is actually relatable, especially is when Google is doing their announcements now about like their AI stuff. And I'm not sure if you've seen that, but they're really harping on the whole, last month we did 4.3 trillion tokens, or this month we did.
Yeah.
They're counting all their internal stuff too.
Yeah.
So like when Gmail looks at something and now it's an LLM doing it, they're counting those tokens towards that. At least that would be my assumption.
Yeah.
But based on that changes how they report where revenue is coming from and where cost is going. Facebook doesn't have that, because Facebook is doing a lot of open source models and they're doing a lot of research into this could help with X, Y, and Z. And of course they're using it internally, but they can't just openly say, this is what we're doing with that. This is this is that, but they'll write off the research and they'll write off the other spots of it. So that's interesting to me to see how much of that would actually go towards the AI research on something like Meta versus on something like Google, because Meta has Meta AI, Google has Gemini, but Google is monetizing it.
Yeah.
Meta really isn't yet, technically.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
I did just get a disclaimer from Facebook
well, I mean,
saying that they were
they're
gonna use it.
using their AI to enhance the advertiser's experience, or at least that's what they tell you that they're doing, right? Personally, I don't think they are enhancing the experience, and that's probably just my years of experience of buying media. But yeah, and according to this, it said based on search results, Alphabet's most recent filing was same day. Again, thinking like, why would you do them on the same day? It's almost like a competition, like two people choosing teams in the parking
Or
lot.
that was the day it was just due, and that was the last day.
Maybe. Yeah, but they said Alphabet's total revenues reached 102.35 billion, a significant increase from 88.27 in the prior year, driven by growth in Google Search and other and Google Cloud. So obviously Google Cloud has taken on a lot more revenue based upon the fact that more and more people are using Gemini and so on, the Nano Banana and what have you. It says income from operations was 31.23 billion, up from 28.5 in the prior year, indicating improved operational efficiency. Net income came to $34.98 billion compared to 26.3 in the previous year, showcasing strong profitability. Net income per share increased to 289 from 214, highlighting enhanced earnings per share. Looking at 2025 Q2 results as additional context, Google services revenue increased 12% to 82 billion, reflecting strong performance across Google Search and others, Google subscriptions, platforms and devices, and YouTube ads. So I read somewhere that YouTube ads generated over $10 billion in Q3, which again is huge.
Oh yeah.
And again, I know a lot of people that are like really big on YouTube ads, and others that are really against it. I'm against it because it doesn't really float my boat in a PMAX campaign, but I've run YouTube elsewhere. So total operating margin was 32.4%, which had benefited from strong revenue growth and continued efficiencies in the expense base. Alphabet is showing consistent double-digit growth across its core business segments, with particularly strong performance in cloud and ongoing profitability improvements driven by operational efficiency.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
This will be, so we just did Alphabet and Meta were the two that we just looked at, right?
Yeah.
Even though can I share my screen real quick?
Sure, I guess.
I know it's going to look weird for a second. For all of you, just bear with us for a moment.
It'll look super weird for anyone that's listening in on a podcast that program like Spotify.
Well, I'll explain it. I'll explain it too. But the visual is worth it. That's why I want to.
Okay, knock yourself out.
All right, so I'm going to close these. And so on this, here's the Perplexity page for, hopefully you can see it.
Yeah, just give me 1 sec.
Yep.
Yeah.
For those of you on the podcast, we're making you wait for no reason, and I apologize for that. But the main, and I'll just zoom this in for when that goes. All right. So is the screen share on and good?
Yeah.
All right. So with this, green line is Google.
Yeah.
And that is Meta. Notice the spread, but also notice the flip.
Yeah.
So these are, if I'm right, these came out right around the pull. So you have these where they're starting to spread and come up. But here's the interesting part about these is when you click in, they legitimately mention that for Meta, which by the way, that chart though, like this is a 5-day.
Yeah.
But here it is Meta cratered 10.2, right? Multiple analysts downgraded because following the disappointing earnings and elevated AI spending.
Yeah.
But the main thing that they mention is that they actually put in here, one of the reasons that it was going down was because of the tax bill.
Yeah.
But because they ended up, they were like, that's a huge hit. So that was interesting to see on there. And it definitely mirrors everything you just said in terms of the growth, in terms of the cost, in terms of the spread and how they went up and down. Like everything matches on that.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. Like their revenue's going up, but I also just keep hearing about people not able to do more. And we start to wonder whether or not it's consolidation or if it's like, we're just not seeing what's actually happening somewhere, or we're just not seeing what actually is going on.
Yeah, maybe it's like I've done e-commerce for many years, right? I'm doing more lead gen now, but you know, with Shopify, they have this kind of thing. It's probably one of the most addictive things I've ever had the opportunity to do. But what they do is, like on the Shopify page, they have a kind of a live sort of screen that shows you the map of the world, and it shows you all the purchases that are made, right? And it shows you how much kind of money is being spent per second. Crazy amounts of money that kind of goes through. But I genuinely thought last year, with all the challenges that have been going on in the world, the war in Ukraine and so on and so on, I just assumed that there would be a downward turn in terms of the revenue, right?
I did too.
That was spent on Shopify stores, but they had a massive uplift in terms of sales. I'm thinking, to me, I just didn't see it. But then I work in such a tiny percentage of the overall market, right?
And mine's the same, right? Because the majority of the time I'm on lead gen. I'm not even on e-com. So like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, lead gen is great and it helps with these companies. And then Shopify's, hey, go look at this on Black Friday. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I understood, and I've always understood, that Shopify transacts a lot of money. And I do understand the difference between revenue and profit and everything else. But when your actual numbers are making, or not even making, when your actual numbers are scrolling as fast as one of my programs is writing fake data to test an interface, but your stuff is real, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like I literally remember seeing the number in front of 2 decimals increase in less than 5 seconds. And I was like, what is happening? That was $1 million in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and I went, I got to give them credit, because you know that someone on their team was like, we should not expose how much money we do. We should not expose what we're doing or orders or anything. And then someone else was like, no, but there will be some people that respect this and the openness. Hi, I'm one of those people that respects the openness. And after that, I sent you 5 clients.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is, with all of those, I love companies that do it, even if they're not big, but the stats don't look good if you're not big.
Yeah.
So the volume and all of that, especially coming up to Black Friday right now, and when this is going to get dropped, please, if you have not watched it, look for those. I'm going to say Shopify. Yeah. I'm going to say there were a couple others, right? I don't think Stripe did one. I think it was Shopify, and then there was like 2 or 3 others, but find them, watch them, because it is nuts. It is insane. And it is a reality check.
But it's really interesting. And again, the way you watch it, because I'm in Europe, right? You typically will see at the beginning of the day in Asia, everything's crazy and things are quiet in the States. And there's still transactions being done, right? And there's a lot of people in Asia that are buying things from stores in the States. So you see all these kind of things going backwards and forwards and everything else. But then like you'll get things will come online in parts of Europe, and then they'll go offline in parts of Europe and come on the East Coast, and then they'll go off on the East Coast and come on the West Coast. And it's really interesting to see as the kind of the globe turns around, right? The shift in terms of volume and maximum peak volume, right? Increases from one place to another, and then eventually ends up on, I don't know, I don't know if Hawaii is the kind of the last time zone before it goes into the next day, but it's really fascinating to watch. And again, I typically, on the day that Black Friday happens, I typically set that up on a completely separate screen. I've got it on all the time. It's just, to me, it's almost e-commerce porn, right? I just love watching it. It's so amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing because you get so many insights into not only what is happening, but also the company itself. Yeah. So like for me, and I'll give 2 quick examples. The first example is that when I watch that data and I watch the stuff going through, right? I'm a programmer, I'm a developer. I do a lot of like architecture on like tech stuff. When I see that, all I'm thinking about is that the guy that's running that store is not only able to compute that number of revenue that quickly, but then keep it live, right? Quote unquote, and then stream it to how many people with no issue.
Yeah.
That's the person I want running the platform that I get paid from.
Yeah.
Like that's how I look at that. But there's stuff like that. And then there's the other, which is 2. I love watching whenever someone gets an order from a dark spot, because some dude is at 6 a.m. just ordering something from somewhere else, or like 1 a.m. And then their map is, well, we don't need to show this because no one's there. And then just out of nowhere, just something just comes out of nowhere and goes back. And you're just like, oh my God. But I love it. it puts a real number to what everyone talks about in terms of what is happening, which is awesome.
Yeah, but again, I think again because it's typically the percentage of the revenue that Shopify take for their processing, and then obviously the payment gateways, they also take their piece of the pie in terms of the payment processing, right? So you work on it and go, again, I can't remember what the number was last year, but let's call it $11 billion. Maybe somebody can leave in the comments what the actual number was. But but if it was $11 billion and Shopify taking close to 3% of the fees that have been transacted on their platform, that's a lot of money in one day. Similarly, if Stripe and PayPal and whoever else, they get their 2-3% or whatever it is, again, huge numbers there. And again, I'm always amazed at how many businesses do that kind of transaction volume. And for that reason, and they have one day when they do amazing, and then the rest of the time they don't, but they still have Shopify Plus as their platform. And I'm thinking, well, the rest of the time, like they're really overpaying for their platform. They should be, they should probably just suck it up and work out which is going to be more cost effective. Shopify Standard versus Shopify Plus, right? Because invariably people always end up paying for more than they need. Similarly with like email platforms like Klaviyo, right? They might have a lot of email going out during kind of the month of November because of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Thanksgiving, and so on, right? But then other parts of the year, right, they never downgrade the amount, right? So even if you clear out your database, right, you still end up paying for a lot more records in your database than you have, right? I've always maintained with anyone that runs email campaigns, right? They always say, oh, my email platform is very expensive, right? So let's say they pay Klaviyo $600 a month or whatever it is because they got so many thousands, hundreds of thousands in their database.
Right.
The first question I always ask is, how much email do you send to your database on a monthly basis? And for me, if they go, well, we don't send anything, well, that's why it's expensive. If you have whatever your quota is, let's say you've got 10,000 records in your database, you can mail up to 10x your quota. So that means in theory, you can email 100,000 emails per month. And if you only mailed 8,000 or 10,000, then that's why your platform has cost you, seems like it's costing you a lot of money. You just haven't used it to its full potential.
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, too, and let's be honest, you're giving them credit. You're giving them credit that they've even started on the platform before they start complaining about the price of it. Because the majority of people already will do literally nothing. And then they'll just be like, well, this is a lot to set up. And I'm like, so it's an in-depth platform. So it's a detail-oriented thing you're setting up that if they're asking these questions, hopefully they're using them. And if they're using them, doesn't that make them a good platform? At least you don't know yet because you haven't tested. But there's so much of that. Like so many people that buy like the extra like analytical stack when Google Analytics is just fine. Like it'll work for the vast majority of people. You're not buying leads on a CPC, CPL and doing all that. You're fine. You're good with analytics.
Yeah.
But if you are doing something else and that is your livelihood or your income or something else, maybe you want something specific to your use case where like that 20% of traffic that came from this one traffic source that just never makes it to the page, maybe they don't load JavaScript. Maybe they don't come in the first place. Maybe it's blocked.
Yeah.
Maybe that loss is now worth paying for a better tool. And then when it is, it's worth it.
Yes,
but
like
until then,
one of the tools I always put in place if I'm working on my own sites or I'm working with a client where we're responsible for sending traffic and trying to generate leads and what have you, right? One of the tools we always put in place is Lucky Orange, right? And see people say, oh, I love Hotjar, right? Fine, you can choose your own poison, right? I really, really love Lucky Orange. And the reason I love it is I can actually look at heat maps, see what's going on the site, but I can also play back the recordings of people to see where the friction is. Right, my job is to try and eliminate as much friction as possible, and it's amazing. You only need to watch probably 15 to 20 recordings to see the challenges of what people are struggling with. Right, then you've got something you can take back to the developers to say, can we make this change to the site? And here's the evidence to support the fact that that's actually what we should be doing. Right, I'm not doing it based on gut feel; it's based on data. Right, the data says, do this will be the outcome. And again, I've seen situations where people are trying to generate leads and they go, oh, I can't afford to spend $40 for a lead. I can only afford to spend 20. And I say, I say to them, look, well, in that case, you have a choice. You can either improve your experience and try and improve your conversion rate, you might bring your cost per lead from 40 down to 20 just by improving it that way.
Exactly.
Right? And really, that's probably the only thing they can do. Other than that, they could try and get more volume and see if there's some scale there, find other platforms where, potentially the leads might be cheaper. But generally speaking, if people want volume, want scale, right, that scale will come at a cost of incrementally more, like cost per lead, right? Because you're trying to put more sort of throughput, right? But that's when, you need to improve the ad copy, but also the user's experience when they get to your page, right? And it always amazes me. People want 15 fields filled in. I'm like, why do you need 15? Get as least amount of information as possible to get the lead validated to be able to be done. On the back end, then you can try and get the additional information after the event, right? But don't waste the opportunity of getting the information to begin with. Exactly. Right? And then ask for more information.
And that's the main thing is like your job as a, and I'm going to say marketer, because in my mind, this is a marketer, not salesman thing, is your job is to put as little resistance between you and whatever click you just bought to get to whatever your goal point is. So if your goal point is to get a conversion, for example, you also need to remember, I'm not just talking about fields or pages. I'm talking about how they're laid out or structured. So maybe if you have, for example, I'll use an affiliate example, right? Like life insurance. Life insurance is a good example. There are short forms. They pay $8. There are like mid forms, which is the normal, like regular form-ish, right? And that might be like $15, $20, but I don't see that a lot. And then there's the long form. And the long form is like literally filling out a mortgage randomly at just the moment. Like you're literally sitting there with what feels like 73 fields because it is literally the entire thing. But if you just took the short form and that's the first 4 fields, right? You fill that out. Where do you think they're sending the users?
Yeah.
Just to the long form, but with it pre-popped. Like it's the same thing. But the difference is they know in their metrics that when they send the traffic to both, the EPC on both should net out to roughly the same. Because if it doesn't, they lose traffic. And if it does, then they know that there's not an advantage over one or the other unless the source can be determined by quality. And then you would weight it appropriately. But like, other than that, no one ever really looks at that. They don't really consider that. They don't really go into that. And it's such a difference in your quality and it's such a difference in your money.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I had that sort of example with the credit repair companies, like you had Experian and Equifax and so on. But there was a new one that came out called Teletrack, and nobody had heard of Teletrack. I'd never heard of it. I just found it randomly somewhere. And I was doing payday loans, and I had a sort of a landing page that basically I was buying Yahoo traffic, 10 cents a click for the term Teletrack. And the ad that I wrote basically said something along the lines of, having problems with your Teletrack rating, we can help. And then obviously we were pimping out payday loans at that point, right? But we were getting like 400 clicks a day, right? Because loads of people were having that problem. They had a problem with getting rejected, had no idea why, asked the question why, got told that it was because their Teletrack rating was high. People go, what's Teletrack? Never heard of it. Yep. And they would go to Google and Yahoo and type in the word Teletrack, and lo and behold, we were the only people advertising. And we just cleaned up. I think for 18 months, the only thing I had to do was make sure I paid my credit card bill. That was it. I think it was like $400 a month was my credit card bill. Peanuts, absolute peanuts, because the traffic was 10 cents a click. I was getting paid $14 a lead. Right? So we converted like 35%. Crazy money.
You're gonna love this. So that was me with home security on the Beacon score. Because no one knows what the hell a Beacon score is. They're like, is that my credit rating? And you're like, no. And they're like, what if I have a credit like this? What's my Beacon? And you're like, I don't know. But also the pubs don't know. So they can't pre-qualify traffic. So I would do that. I would wait for the declines. They'd be like, sorry, because the lander would actually say, we're sorry, but your Beacon score doesn't allow the promotions. And then they'd be like, what Beacon score? And then I'd be right there. And I'm like, you know what's really good? Home security systems that don't require a Beacon score. And I sent them all to their competitor. So it's like, that's why I never understood why people don't just look at that and look at what they're doing, because every piece that you're presenting to the user is a potential reason, way, or methodology that they are going to leave where they are. So they could end up leaving because they're a decline, because they got the thank you, because it worked, because it didn't, or because you just said, hey, your beacon score is low. And they're like, what's that? And then they go look at it.
Yeah,
so it's
like to your point about the four field form, right? Is you fill that in, right? And usually there's like an inline message that says, thank you, right? And that's it. And I'm like, what, you're leaving it at that? Surely there must be an opportunity for that page to be populated with a whole bunch of extra stuff, right?
The amount of people that I wish I could just be like, you understand that if we just took these 6 offers you already have, you signed up for Boardwalk, you threw them into a freaking offer wall, and then we threw it on that page. You really think you're not going to make a single cent more? It's like, it's nuts, because a lot of these thank you pages are sometimes 30% of the revenue, 30, 40, like it's nuts. And then, well, a lot of the people that I run at this point, if I run them as an affiliate, right? And I go through their path, I look at this stuff, I look at the thank you. If I pre-qual, I look at what's on the page. If I get DQ'd, I look at what's on the page. I'm cool if you monetize my DQs, because if you are, I didn't do my job and stop them from coming first. Awesome, do your thing. But with that, I need to know what you're promoting, because that can change what I'm promoting. Because if I'm promoting something and making that money, but you're also doing it, and that's part of your ROI calculation on me, and now they're duplicates, you might pause me from the other offer that's unrelated completely. So there's a lot of that can go into it. And that's where I think a lot of people don't really look at how it operates or how it really works. They just want a solution, which, to be fair, is everyone, everywhere, for everything. But no, it's nuts. And it's a lot of money. Like, same thing with declines. Oh, sorry, we can't help you right now. Here's an idea. Show them who can. Because those people will pay you for that.
Yes, if you're doing geographical, let's say you're doing HVAC in a particular zip code or something like that, right? And somebody comes in from outside your catchment area, right? And they go, oh no, sorry, we don't do that area. I'm like, why are you doing that? You should be selling those leads to other people that do the same thing as you do, but in wherever that's come from, right? Become an affiliate, right? You can be a plumber and an affiliate, right? And you can make money from doing that, right?
Like, it's not hard. Like, I have a buddy that's a plumber, and I was like, listen, how many of your calls do you get? Or you're like, you're outside my service area. I'm sorry, I'm busy, like blah, blah, blah. He's like, about a quarter. And I was like, okay, first of all, your ads suck. But second of all, and more importantly, where are you sending them? And I don't send them anywhere. I just tell them I'm busy and I really hope that they have good luck and find XYZ. I'm like, dude, literally eLocal has incoming, literally pay per call on HVAC vendors per zip code.
Yeah.
It's like, use them. It's $35 a call or whatever it is, right? But also send them to Thumbtack. Send them to Angie's List. You're going to do it anyway. You're going to send them there anyway. Thumbtack has a publisher program. Literally get paid for it. Like, that is the entire point. And that's been one of those, that's been one of my pet peeves for a while, is like, a lot of these guys, and granted, it's my pet peeve because of where I am in the situation. They don't know marketing. They're a plumber.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know shit about plumbing. Like, it's not the specialty. But with them, it's also one of those things where low lift for us is heavy lift for them. So to them, that's a whole ordeal. They got to sign up for networks. They got to figure out how to find the networks. They got to that's not their shit. That's not their job. That's not their industry. But it doesn't change the fact that they're still losing money.
Yeah. Well,
and that's why
in a lot of cases, they've spent money acquiring the traffic, right? Whether it's Google or Meta or whoever, right? They've spent money acquiring that traffic, right? Mm-hmm. And as much as the traffic provider tries to do the best they can to ensure that the people are within your catchment area. Again, if you think about it, right? So let's say you live in a particular geographic area, you've got a certain zip code, but the person is calling you from their office, which is in a completely different zip code. So that's where there'll be a disconnect between the ads that you see and what they see. And that's why sometimes it's you will get those out of area mismatches, right? But again, the reality of it is you could, if you don't talk to them, you can go, they're not in my area, so I'm going to decline it. And I'm like, no, you just need to ask where they're from, right? And also say, look, unfortunately, we're not in that sort of catchment area. But what I can do is I can put you in touch now, right? Just bear with me 1 second. I'll transfer you to somebody, and you just whiz them through, and away you go, right? And you can, again, they'll make money
also,
from that.
And also, just to throw this out as well, like we're talking like you have to work with a big company or you have to work with these guys. You already know the other tradesmen in your area. I almost can guarantee it. I have never met a blue collar person that doesn't know other blue collar people that they work with or ran into on a site or whatever it is, right? Just talk to them and just be like, listen, every now and again, I know you do those areas. I know I do these. And I know technically we compete on these, but like on the ones that I don't do, are you down that I can just do a text intro for you with some, like depending on the industry, right? Like some you need the call, but like you can do that. You don't need to go through a third party if you already have the people. Support your local people around you, but also at the same time, make sure it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
If they're not going to do it for you,
Contra
put a
deals.
monetary value.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think in a lot of cases you can just do a contra deal, right? So if you send me a lead, I'll pay you $50. And if you send me one, I'll pay you $50, right? And at the end of the month, we'll work out who owes who money, and then we're good to go, right?
Yeah. And just keep it easy, right? You guys are small businesses. Cash flow is important. And a lot of times you don't get that cash flow up front, right? So what you do is you just keep track. And then at the end of the month, you do what us affiliates do. It's called netting out. You literally just go, I owe you 100 and you owe me 200. So send me 100. We're good. And now none of you need to take leverage in order to grow as much.
Yeah.
As long as you're two-way streeting.
Exactly.
So cool. There's a lot.
So Rob, this has been great. I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early because of this whole time zone thing. It's like super dark here now and it's blowing my mind. But just thought I'd let you know, going to be at Affiliate Summit. Good conversation. Loved it. I was just telling Rob that the episode that we did with Scott Show recently is available now on the site. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. It's an amazing kind of conversation. I was saying that when I was editing it, I was not really listening to what was being said. I rewatched it and I'm like, wow, that is good. That is a good episode. So if you haven't watched that one, then by all means do. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Medium Mind Podcast.
Have a good one. And preferably be ROI positive.
You got it.